Nobody wanted the 7 women at the end of the auction. Nathan Walker heard broker Voss say it as casually as someone discussing damaged cargo. The Meridian salvage exchange was already emptying around them. Cleaning machines whispered across the polished metal floor. White commercial lights dimmed section by section. Buyers disappeared through the exit gates carrying transfer certificates, equipment manifests, and the satisfied expressions of people who had found exactly what they came to purchase. Nathan had found 32 refurbished actuators and a pressure regulator he hoped was worth half what he paid. He was 42, tired, and already calculating how many repair jobs Calder station needed before his bank account stopped looking offended. Then he saw the bench. 7 Velari women remained beneath a display near the back wall. Unplaced. Non-standard functional status. They wore plain gray transit clothing. Their skin ranged through shades of turquoise blue beneath the cold lights. Silver-white hair. Tapered ears. Amber eyes with narrow vertical pupils. Each carried some variation of the same commercial designation on a small metal tag. Defective. Nathan stopped walking. Those 7 will be transferred for reclamation processing tomorrow, Voss said behind him. Nathan turned. Reclamation? Standard disposition for unplaced contractual assets. Nathan looked back at the women. None were speaking. The one nearest him sat with her hands folded carefully in her lap. Her face was distinctly alien, elegant but unfamiliar, with elongated cheekbones, a flatter nose bridge, and luminous markings tracing both temples. She noticed him watching. Her amber eyes held his without lowering. Is there something you need, human? She asked. Her voice was controlled, not pleading. Nathan glanced at the display above her. Apparently, I need a better definition of defective. Voss sighed. Mr. Walker, the auction is closed. A sharp electrical click came from the wall beside the bench. One of the local control panels flickered. The ventilation fan above them slowed, restarted, then slowed again. Nathan recognized the sound of a failing contact relay. Before he could move, the Velari woman leaned toward the panel. The service cover was already loose. She opened it, studied the exposed contacts, then used 2 fingers to reseat a misaligned connector. The panel stabilized. The ventilation fan returned to its normal hum. Nathan looked at the machine, then at the word above her head. Defective. Did you just repair that? He asked. It was irritating. Nathan almost smiled. Fair reason. Voss stepped closer. Kaya Ven. Neural interface mismatch. Industrial certification rejected. Nathan looked at her. Kaya. She nodded once. What does neural interface mismatch have to do with repairing a relay? Voss's expression suggested the question was beneath the dignity of commerce. Velari industrial labor relies on standardized neural machine synchronization. She cannot maintain stable synchronization above minimum certification threshold. Nathan looked at the physical connector Kaya had just fixed without using any neural interface at all. So she cannot operate your machines the way you want. Correct. That is different from being unable to operate machines. Voss paused. Not according to certification. Nathan set his actuator crate on the floor. What about the others? Voss opened his tablet. Mirasol. Reduced low-frequency auditory response. Silaven. Non-standard hand symmetry. Nirakel. Depth perception variance. Tessamar. Biometric interface incompatibility. He continued through the remaining 2. Nathan listened. Then he looked at the 7 women again. They can think. Voss frowned. Obviously. Walk. Yes. Make decisions? Mr. Walker. Just checking the specifications. Kaya's temple markings brightened faintly. Nathan noticed. Voss lowered his tablet. Their limitations make them commercially undesirable. If you are not interested, reclamation will handle the matter tomorrow. Nathan looked at the repaired control panel. Stable light. Smooth ventilation. Then at Kaya. What does the whole lot cost? For the first time, all 7 women looked directly at him. Voss blinked. All of them. Nathan sighed and glanced at his nearly empty financial account. That is usually what whole lot means. Kaya stood slowly. If you purchase us, human, what work do you require? Nathan looked at the 7 women, then at the crate of broken machinery waiting for him back on Calder. I have absolutely no idea. Kaya stared at him. Nathan looked once more at the commercial tag calling her defective. Something was wrong here. And for once, it was not the machine. Broker Voss named a price low enough to insult 7 people and high enough to ruin Nathan's month. Nathan stared at the figure on the transfer tablet. His repair reserve would cover most of it. The payment from his next salvage contract would cover another piece. The rest would come from the emergency fund he had spent 6 years pretending was untouchable. "That is your clearance price?" he asked. Voss folded his hands. "Their combined commercial utility is limited." Kaya remained standing beside the bench. The other 6 Velari watched without speaking. Nathan glanced at the classification files again. Mirasol had reduced sensitivity to low-frequency sound. Sela Ven had asymmetrical hands that failed standardized tool recognition systems. Nirakel's depth perception fell outside Velari industrial certification parameters. Tessa Mar triggered inconsistent biometric readers. The final 2, Lyra Knoll and Mara Tess, carried similar designations involving balance calibration and neural response timing. Nathan read every report twice. "They can all work within limitations," Voss said. "Can they learn?" "Presumably." "Can they refuse instructions?" Voss frowned. "That is not relevant to commercial valuation." Nathan looked at him. "It is becoming relevant to mine." Kaya's luminous temple markings brightened slightly. Nathan returned to the tablet. "Why has nobody taken them?" "Industrial buyers prefer standardized labor compatibility." Meaning machines were designed around one specification. Meaning efficiency matters. Nathan nodded toward the repaired wall control. "That panel seems efficiently repaired." Voss's patience thinned. "A physical relay is not a neural industrial network." "Good. My repair yard has physical relays. Calder station uses outdated equipment. We prefer experienced." Kaya almost smiled. Nathan noticed and pretended he did not. Voss pushed the transfer tablet closer. "If you want the group, authorize payment." Kaya stepped forward. "Human." Nathan looked at her. "Nathan, if you purchase us, what obligations will you require?" "Still working on that." "You are spending resources. You must expect compensation." Nathan glanced at the 7 metal tags. Defective, non-standard, limited commercial utility. He disliked every word more each time he saw it. "I own a repair yard," he said. "It leaks when it rains. The West Air recycler complains every morning. And one cargo loader has been threatening retirement for 3 years." Kaya waited. "That does not answer my question." "I know." Nathan looked toward the other women. "What did you do before Meridian?" Mira answered first. "Transit maintenance." Sela raised one unusual hand. "Precision assembly." Nira said, "Survey optics." Tessa had worked with environmental systems. Lyra knew structural diagnostics. Mara had repaired agricultural machinery. Kaya remained silent. Nathan looked at her. "And you?" "Power distribution." He glanced again at the control panel she had repaired. "Of course." Voss interrupted. "Their previous occupations do not change current certification." Nathan looked at him. "You really trust certificates? They establish value." Nathan took out his personal account authorization. "Machines establish value where I come from, usually by whether they work after you touch them." He transferred his repair reserve. The balance fell painfully. Then he pledged his next salvage payment. Still short. His emergency fund covered the remainder with enough left to buy fuel and several regrettable dinners. The tablet requested final confirmation. Kaya watched his thumb hover above it. "Why?" she asked. Nathan looked up. "Why what? Why all 7? The exchange was almost silent now. Cleaning machines moved through distant aisles. Voss waited impatiently. Nathan looked from Kaya to Mira, Sela, Nira, Tessa, Lyra, and Mara. "Because I asked what was wrong with you." Kaya's expression tightened. Nathan continued. "And he gave me a list of things wrong with the machines." Her amber eyes held his. Nathan pressed confirm. Payment accepted. Transfer authorized. Voss immediately began preparing the ownership records. Nathan read the first document before signing. Then the second. On the third, he stopped. A clause near the bottom referenced salvage transfer conversion at destination. Nathan enlarged it. Voss noticed. Routine language. Routine language is where expensive surprises live. Nathan read the clause again. A registered salvage operator receiving non-standard contractual assets could convert transferred labor status into civilian residency after arrival, provided no outstanding third-party debt remained. Nathan kept his face neutral. "Interesting. Is there a problem?" Voss asked. Nathan signed. "Not yet." Kaya watched him carefully. She had not seen the clause. Neither had the others. Nathan decided not to promise anything until Calder's registry confirmed it. Promises were cheap. Doors that opened from the inside were better. 20 minutes later, the 7 Velari followed him toward the docking corridor. Kaya walked beside him. "What are our quotas?" she asked. Nathan adjusted the actuator crate in his arms. "First quota is reaching my ship without making me carry anything else. And after that," he glanced at her. "Breakfast." Kaya frowned as though this human had failed some basic commercial test. Nathan kept walking. Behind them, Meridian's display changed their status from unplaced to transferred. Ahead, Calder Station waited with broken machines, 7 empty rooms, and 1 legal clause Nathan intended to read very carefully. Calder Station greeted them with a broken cargo loader and a leaking coffee dispenser. Nathan considered both appropriate introductions. His transport settled into the repair yard dock just after local morning cycle, and the 7 Velari followed him through the pressure gate, carrying the small transit bags Meridian had issued them. The yard occupied an old industrial section near Calder's eastern freight ring. Pipes crossed the ceiling. Tool cabinets lined one wall. 3 repair bays opened toward the docking channel. Nothing matched. Nathan had rebuilt the place from whatever equipment survived long enough to become affordable. Kaya stopped beneath a faded workshop light and studied the machinery. "This is your facility?" That sounded judgmental. It was observational. "You will fit in." Nathan set his actuator crate on a workbench and opened the station registry terminal. He had spent most of the flight reading the salvage transfer clause. Now Calder's system confirmed what Meridian's paperwork had implied. No third-party debts remained attached to the 7 transfers. As registered receiver, Nathan could convert their status immediately. He selected civilian residency conversion. 7 names appeared. Kaya Ven, Mirasol, Sila Ven, Nirakel, Tessamar, Liranol, Marites. Nathan confirmed all 7. The terminal chimed. Civilian status active. He downloaded the records, locked the screen, and turned around. Kaya was watching him. "What did you do?" "Paperwork." "What kind?" "The boring kind." She did not believe him. "Fair enough." Nathan walked to a cabinet and removed 7 room keys. "Housing corridor is upstairs. Rooms 12 through 18. Pick whichever ones you want." Mira took a key cautiously. Sila turned hers over in her unusual fingers. Kaya did not reach for one. "Where are the locks controlled?" "At the doors." "From your terminal?" "No." "Security office?" "No." Nathan pointed upstairs. "From the inside. That is generally where people prefer locks." Kaya stared at him. "Where are the restraints?" Nathan looked toward the cargo bay. "On the shipping crates. Please do not steal those. Insurance paperwork makes me emotional." Nobody laughed. "Not yet." Nathan handed them food cards and temporary station credentials. "Kitchen is through that door. Water recycler is temperamental. Coffee dispenser is worse. If it makes a grinding sound, walk away." Tessa looked at the card. "What are our quotas?" "Today." Nathan checked the wall clock. "Eat something. Sleep if you need to. Try not to accidentally depressurize my building." Kaya's temple markings brightened. "And tomorrow? We figure out what everyone wants to do. You purchased 7 workers without deciding their assignments. Apparently. That makes no sense. You have seen my cargo loader. Good decisions are not our local tradition." A mechanical clunk came from Repair Bay 2. The loader stopped halfway through lifting Nathan's actuator crate. Warning lights flashed. Nathan sighed. Speaking of tradition, he opened the loader housing. Kaya remained nearby while the others moved toward the kitchen. "Your servo timing is late," she said. Nathan checked the diagnostic. "By how much?" "About 40 milliseconds." He looked at her. "You cannot interface with it." "I can hear the phase regulator." "Here." Kaya touched 2 fingers lightly near the luminous markings at her temple. "Not sound. Electrical variation." Nathan manually adjusted the servo delay. The loader moved smoothly again. He looked at Kaya. She looked at him. 41 milliseconds, the diagnostic reported. Nathan leaned against the housing. Terrible estimate. Her markings brightened again. This time he recognized amusement. "Your machines are primitive." "Experienced." That word does not mean what you think it means. It means I cannot afford new ones. Kaya glanced toward the upstairs corridor. "Why change our status?" Nathan became still. So she had understood the registry screen after all. "Because the contract allowed it. You could have kept the labor assignments." "Yes. You paid for them." "I paid to get 7 people out of Meridian." Kaya's expression became guarded. "Why?" Nathan looked around the repair yard. The mismatched tools, the aging loader, the leaking dispenser. Every machine in the place had been modified because the original design had eventually stopped matching reality. Because somebody decided you were defective when what they really meant was inconvenient. He handed her the last room key. I work with inconvenient things. Kaya looked at the key in her palm. Are we required to stay? No. Required to work? No. Then why bring us here? Nathan picked up his tool case. Because leaving you there seemed worse. He walked toward the broken coffee dispenser. Behind him, Kaya remained beside the cargo loader, staring at a key that opened a room nobody could lock her inside. For years, machines had been the standard by which someone measured her usefulness. On Calder, Nathan had already begun doing something far stranger. He was measuring the machines instead. By the third morning, Nathan had stopped calling them guests and started calling them by name. Not workers. Not assets. Names. Kaya noticed the difference before she noticed anything else. The repair yard came alive at 6 local time with the usual sequence of mechanical complaints. Air recyclers hummed. Cargo clamps unlocked. The West Bay door hesitated for 3 seconds before opening. Nathan stood beside the main workbench holding a mug of coffee that smelled stronger than the cleaning solvent. Today, he said, we find out what everybody actually likes doing. Mira tilted her head. You have no assignments? I have approximately 40 broken things. Nathan gestured around the yard. Choose your enemy. Kaya watched the others separate cautiously. Mira moved toward a compressor assembly. Sela examined a precision tool cabinet. Nira stopped beside an optical alignment rig. Tessa opened an environmental controller. Lyra studied a cracked support sensor. Mara found an agricultural pump waiting for refurbishment. Nathan gave nobody instructions beyond safety limits. Kaya remained beside him. And me? Power distribution bench. Your interface will reject me. Probably. Then why send me there? Nathan took another drink. Because the interface is replaceable. The standard control cradle refused Kaya's neural signature exactly as Meridian's certification predicted. Red indicator. Connection rejected. Nathan looked at the machine. Rude. Kaya folded her arms. It is functioning correctly. That depends on what function we want. He disconnected the neural cradle and installed manual diagnostic leads, tactile controls, and an optical waveform display from an older human system. It took 40 minutes. Kaya watched every connection. You are modifying certified equipment. Please do not tell anyone respectable. Why not use another technician? Nathan tightened the final connector. Because you are standing here. Kaya placed her fingers near the exposed phase sensor. Her temple markings brightened as current moved through the test circuit. Phase drift, she said. Nathan checked the waveform. Where? Third line. Repeating every 2.4 seconds. He enlarged the signal. There it was. Small. Consistent. Easy for the automated diagnostic to dismiss as noise. How did you detect that? The electrical variation changes the sensory response along my temple markings. Nathan nodded. Useful. Kaya's expression hardened slightly. Meridian called it unstable neural compensation. Meridian also tried to sell me a pressure regulator with corrosion under the seal. He adjusted the waveform filter. Their judgment has limitations. Across the yard, Mira had placed one hand against the compressor housing. She could not hear its low-frequency alarm clearly, but she felt the vibration through the metal and identified a misaligned bearing. Sela discovered her asymmetrical fingers could reach a recessed fastener Nathan normally needed a specialized angled tool to access. Nira repositioned the optical rig until its calibration suited her depth perception rather than the factory default. Nothing miraculous happened. Nobody developed abilities they had not possessed yesterday. The workstations simply stopped demanding that 7 different people behave like one standardized body. Nathan moved between benches with tools and spare components. He lowered one control panel by 4 inches. Reprogrammed another to use visual alerts instead of low-frequency sound. Replaced a biometric lock with a physical access key. By lunchtime, the workshop looked slightly less organized and considerably more functional. Kaya watched him drilling mounting holes for her new control panel. You are changing your entire yard. Entire is dramatic. You modified 6 stations before noon. 7 if the coffee dispenser cooperates. Why? Nathan stopped drilling. Why what? Why change the machines for us? He looked at the panel in his hands. then toward the old commercial tag still clipped to Kaya's transit bag. Defective. No commercial value. Nathan set the drill down. Machines are cheaper to replace than people. Kaya became very still. No one spoke for several seconds. Then a warning tone sounded from Mara's agricultural pump. She looked toward Nathan. I did not break it. Excellent opening statement. He walked over. Behind him, Kaya turned back to her modified workstation. She placed both hands on the manual controls and brought the repaired distribution unit online. Green indicators moved across the panel. Stable voltage. Stable phase. The system accepted her because Nathan had stopped asking her to fit the system first. By evening, 7 workbenches had changed. So had something quieter. When Nathan locked the exterior workshop doors for the night, Kaya and the others did not wait for permission to leave. They simply took their room keys and went upstairs. The doors still locked from the inside. And downstairs, the machines were finally learning how to meet the people who used them. The lights went out at 2:17 in the afternoon. Not dimmed. Not flickered. Out. Nathan was halfway inside the housing of a cargo actuator when the repair yard dropped into darkness and every machine around him fell silent. A second later, red emergency strips illuminated the floor. Kaya looked up from the modified power bench. That was not us. Comforting. Nathan slid out and grabbed his diagnostic tablet. The station network was already filling with warnings. Primary distribution failure. Auxiliary grid unstable. Life support reserve estimate, 93 minutes. His humor disappeared. That is bad. Kaya came beside him. How bad? The station is running on emergency storage. Main distribution lost synchronization. A public announcement confirmed it. All engineering personnel were ordered to assist local infrastructure teams. Nathan opened Calder's grid schematic. The fault centered 3 levels below the eastern freight ring, inside an old conduit network connecting the primary converter to the auxiliary bus. Standard repair drones had entered twice and withdrawn because electromagnetic interference corrupted their navigation sensors. Nathan grabbed his tool case. Everyone stays together. Kaya looked at the schematic. I can detect phase variation without the interface. I know. Mira stepped from the compressor bay, and I can feel mechanical vibration through the conduit walls. Sela raised one asymmetrical hand. Manual bypass housings. Nathan enlarged the diagram. Narrow service channels surrounded the converter assembly. Probably. He looked at all 7 women. Nobody has to come. Kaya met his eyes. Neither do you. My coffee dispenser is on that grid. Her temple markings brightened despite the emergency. Then we should hurry. They reached the lower service level 12 minutes later. Emergency lighting painted the corridor red. Nathan connected a portable meter to the first junction. Readings jumped unpredictably. Sensor interference is worse down here. Kaya moved closer without touching the conductor housing. The luminous markings along her temples brightened, then pulsed unevenly. The instability is not at this junction. Direction? She turned slowly. Left branch. Approximately 60 feet. They followed. Mira stopped halfway and placed her palm against the wall. Something is cycling. Nathan checked his tablet. The automated system showed nothing. Frequency. About once every 4 seconds. Kaya looked toward the next conduit chamber. That matches the phase drop. Nathan understood. A mechanical regulator is feeding an electrical instability. They reached the chamber. The access space was narrow. Sela examined the manual bypass assembly. Standard maintenance tools could not reach the recessed release because a warped protective housing blocked the angle. She slipped her narrower fingers through the opening and rotated the mechanical latch. The bypass cover opened. Show off, Nathan said. You modified my workstation yesterday. Fair. Inside, a phase regulator vibrated against its mounting bracket. Mira touched the outer housing. That is the cycle. Nathan checked temperature. Normal. Voltage unstable. Kaya studied the exposed distribution lines. Third phase is arriving late. How late? Enough. Nathan almost smiled. Technical measurement. Human influence. The station timer dropped below 60 minutes. Nathan disconnected the automated synchronization module and switched the regulator to manual control. Kaya guided the phase adjustment by sensing changes the damaged electronics could no longer measure reliably. 2 degrees forward, she said. Nathan adjusted. More. He moved again. Mira monitored vibration. Sela held the bypass access open. Tessa relayed life support load from the environmental network. Nira tracked the manual indicator alignment. Lyra checked structural temperature along the conduit. Mara kept the portable coolant pump stable. No single person had the answer. That was the point. There, Kaya said suddenly. Her temple markings steadied. Mira lifted her hand from the housing. Vibration is dropping. Nathan looked at the meter. 3 phases aligned. He engaged the auxiliary bus. Nothing happened for one long second. Then the corridor lights returned. Ventilation fans spun up. Somewhere above them, Calder station came back to life section by section. The emergency display recalculated. Life support normal. Nathan leaned against the conduit wall. I would like everyone to notice that my coffee dispenser has survived. Kaya looked at him. You are impossible. Certified. She laughed. It was the first time Nathan had heard her do it without restraint. Minutes later, the station administrator called with congratulations and an emergency service bonus. Nathan barely listened. Kaya was staring at the old metal tag still clipped to her transit bag. Defective. She removed it slowly. Then she looked at the 7 people standing beneath restored lights, surrounded by machinery that had failed until they approached it differently. Nathan followed her gaze. Meridian had measured them against standardized systems and called the mismatch a defect. Calder had just discovered what happened when the system was allowed to change instead. The station bonus arrived before Nathan finished putting his tools away. The amount was large enough to replace the repair reserve he had emptied at Meridian and still leave something for overdue maintenance. He stared at the payment notice on his tablet. That seems irresponsible. Kaya stood beside the restored distribution panel. They paid you for preventing life support failure. Exactly. Now they will expect competence again. Her temple markings brightened. The 7 Velari followed him back to the repair yard, where the lights were on, the cargo loader was moving, and the coffee dispenser remained deeply committed to disappointing everyone. Nathan transferred 1/7 of the emergency bonus into 7 separate civilian accounts. Kaya noticed before he finished. What are you doing? Dividing the payment. It was paid to your company. 7 people helped earn it. You own the company. Unfortunately, Nathan confirmed the transfers. 7 tablets chimed around the workshop. Mira stared at hers. Sela checked the amount twice. Kaya did not look at her balance. She looked at Nathan. How much remains? Of what? Our purchase debt. The room became quiet. Nathan set his tablet on the workbench. Nothing. Kaya's amber pupils narrowed. That is impossible. It is surprisingly possible. You spent your repair reserve, your salvage payment, your emergency fund. I remember. My account sent condolences. Then how much do we owe you? Nothing. Kaya's voice became firmer. Nathan. He understood what she needed now. Not humor. Proof. He opened Calder's civil registry and turned the screen toward her. 7 names appeared under civilian status. No labor assignments. No repayment schedules. No transfer obligations. Conversion timestamp, the morning they arrived. Kaya read it twice. You released us immediately. Converted the contracts. Before you knew whether we could work. Yes. Before the station failure. Yes. Before we proved anything. Nathan leaned against the workbench. You did not need to prove anything to qualify as people. No one spoke. The workshop ventilation filled the silence. Kaya looked down at the old metal tag she had removed in the service tunnel. Defective. No commercial value. She placed it beside Nathan's tablet. Then why did you bring us here? Because Meridian was sending you somewhere called reclamation processing, and nobody would explain what that meant without sounding worse. That is not a business reason. I am beginning to suspect I am bad at business. Mira laughed first. Then Mara. Even Kaya's mouth curved slightly before she caught herself. Nathan opened the station route directory. There is another part. 7 civilian travel credentials appeared. Each had an empty destination field. You can leave Calder whenever you want. The station bonus is yours. If you want transportation somewhere else, we find it. Tessa stared at him. All of us. That is generally what 7 credentials means. Kaya looked toward the modified workstations. And if someone wants to stay? Nathan nodded toward the benches. Then tomorrow we discuss salaries. Salaries. Money paid for work. Very popular human invention. We understand salaries. Excellent. Saves training time. Kaya walked to her power distribution bench. Nathan had lowered the controls, replaced the neural cradle, added tactile diagnostics, and rebuilt the interface around what she could actually use. You changed the machines for us. Adjusted them. 6 stations. 7. Your entire workshop. The workshop complained less than you did. This time Kaya laughed openly. The sound changed the room. Nathan smiled and began collecting tools from the emergency kit. Kaya looked at the blank destination on her travel credential. I do not know where I would go. You do not have to decide tonight. And if I stay, I am not paying you back. No, I would be an employee, if you want. And if I later leave, then I complain about staffing and you leave anyway. Her temple markings glowed softly. One by one, the others began talking. Mira wanted to stay for at least a month. Sela asked about precision assembly rates. Mara wanted to know whether Calder had agricultural repair contracts. Nira asked if the optical bench could be modified again. Nathan answered each question as if it were ordinary. Maybe that was the strangest kindness of all. Nobody had to earn the right to remain. Nobody had to earn the right to leave. Kaya picked up the old defective tag and turned it over in her fingers. Can I keep this? Nathan looked at it. Why? She glanced around the workshop at 7 modified stations and 7 civilian credentials. Calibration reference. Nathan raised an eyebrow. For what? Kaya placed the tag carefully in her pocket. I am still deciding. Nathan nodded. Good. Outside the repair yard windows, Calder's lights burned steadily again. Inside, 7 people stood in a place where every door opened from the inside. Every destination remained blank until chosen, and tomorrow's work would begin with something Meridian had never offered them. A salary. The next morning, Nathan discovered that negotiating salaries with 7 newly free Velari was harder than repairing Calder's power grid. Mira wanted to know whether breaks reduced pay. Sela asked whether damaged tools became employee debt. Mara wanted written confirmation that housing was not deducted from wages without consent. Nathan answered each question, then added every answer to the employment agreement because he had begun to understand what Meridian had taught them to expect. Kaya sat across from him at the workbench, reading every line before signing anything. Nathan waited. You are not going to tell me where to sign? She asked. You have eyes. That is unusually patient for an employer. I bill patients separately. Her temple markings brightened. She returned to the agreement. Hourly rate. Optional station housing. Medical coverage. Independent termination rights. No repayment obligation. No ownership language. Kaya reached the final line and stopped. Either party may end employment with 48 hours notice. Correct. I can leave. We covered this yesterday. I wanted it written. Nathan nodded. Good. She signed. One by one, the others did the same. By noon, Walker Salvage had 7 employees and enough paperwork to frighten a government office. The station administrator visited shortly afterward carrying a maintenance proposal. Calder wanted Nathan's yard added to the emergency infrastructure network after the previous day's power failure. The contract was large enough to stabilize the business for years. Nathan read the technical requirements. Then he found the personnel certification clause. Problem? The administrator asked. Your approved technician standard requires neural interface compatibility. Kaya looked over from her modified bench. Nathan tapped the clause. That excludes half my crew before anyone tests whether they can do the work. It is standard station language. Yesterday, standard repair drones could not reach the fault. The administrator hesitated. The certification can be reviewed. Then review it. That could delay the contract. Nathan handed the tablet back. Machines are patient. Kaya watched the administrator leave. You rejected the station contract. I rejected one paragraph. It was a valuable paragraph. Expensive and valuable are different words. By evening, Calder Engineering returned with a revised proposal. Competency testing could substitute for standardized neural certification. Nathan placed the assessment equipment across the workshop. Nobody received special scoring. Nobody needed it. Mira identified vibration faults faster than the reference diagnostic. Sela completed precision assembly without the specialized angled tools Nathan normally used. Nira recalibrated an optical sensor array to within tolerance after adjusting the visual display for her depth perception. Kaya received the power distribution test last. The standard neural cradle sat and used beside her. Nathan connected the manual interface they had built together. Ready? Yes. The simulated grid loaded. 3-phase irregularities appeared. Kaya's temple markings brightened. She adjusted the first. Then the second. The third was subtler. Nathan watched the timer. Kaya ignored it. She closed her eyes for half a second, opened them, and changed the phase offset by a fraction. Green indicators appeared across the board. Test complete. Within operational tolerance. The station evaluator stared at the results. Her method is non-standard. Nathan leaned against the bench. You are developing a vocabulary problem. Kaya looked at him. Nathan. What? Be polite. He sighed. This is why management is exhausting. The evaluator almost smiled. By the end of the day, all 7 had qualified through competency testing. Calder approved the revised contract. More importantly, the station issued a new certification category based on demonstrated function rather than interface conformity. Kaya read the notice twice. Other Velari could qualify under this. Probably other species too. Because you changed one paragraph. Nathan shook his head. Because yesterday 7 people showed the paragraph was wrong. Kaya reached into her pocket and removed the old metal tag from Meridian. Defective. No commercial value. She placed it beside her new technician credential. For a moment, both classifications rested under the same workshop light. One had been written by a system measuring her against a machine. The other had been earned in a workshop willing to change the machine first. Nathan picked up his coffee, keeping the tag. Yes. Still a calibration reference? Kaya looked around at the 7 modified workstations, 7 signed employment agreements, and the station contract that now recognized all of them as technicians. Her amber eyes returned to the old tag. Now I know what it measures. Nathan waited. Kaya slid the tag back into her pocket. Not me. 3 months later, the 7 travel credentials were still sitting in Nathan's office drawer. Not because anyone had taken them away. Because nobody had needed them yet. Kaya found the drawer open while Nathan was searching for an invoice he had almost certainly placed somewhere unreasonable. She lifted her credential and looked at the blank destination field. You kept these active. Nathan glanced over. Civilian credentials do not expire for another 2 years. You renew the transit access every month. Calder's registry does that automatically. Kaya raised one silver-white eyebrow. After you configured it. Nathan returned to the invoice search. I dislike unnecessary obstacles. She looked through the office window. Walker Salvage no longer looked like the workshop she had entered 3 months earlier. 7 modified stations filled the main floor. Mira had added vibration indicators to the compressor bay. Sela reorganized precision tools by reach instead of manufacturer. Nira rebuilt the optical bench controls. Mara had enough agricultural repair contracts to occupy one entire wall. Nothing matched factory standards anymore. Everything worked. Nathan finally found the invoice under a coolant manual. There you are. Kaya remained beside the drawer. Mira received an offer from the orbital maintenance company. Good offer. Very. She should consider it. You would let her leave? Nathan looked at her. Kaya. I know. It was a foolish question. Not foolish. He closed the drawer gently. Just one you already know the answer to. Mira accepted the orbital position 2 days later. Nathan organized a farewell dinner in the repair bay because the kitchen was too small. The coffee dispenser contributed nothing useful. Mira stood near the cargo loader, holding her travel credential. I thought leaving would feel like betrayal, she admitted. Nathan handed her a small toolkit. That sounds inconvenient. You spent money bringing me here. Terrible investment strategy. You changed a workstation for me. I change machinery when it annoys me. Mira smiled. You know what I mean. Nathan nodded. Yeah. He pointed toward her credential. Go take the better job. She did. The next morning her workstation was empty. Nathan did not replace her name on the locker. He simply removed the employee schedule and left the space available. Kaya noticed that too. A week later, Sela moved into her own apartment elsewhere on Calder, but continued working at the yard. Tessa enrolled in an environmental systems course. Lyra reduced her hours to assist Calder's structural inspection team. Freedom did not make the 7 Velari move in the same direction. That was the point. One evening, Kaya found Nathan replacing the old sign above the workshop entrance. Walker Salvage had hung there for 11 years. He lowered it onto the floor. What happened? She asked. Company restructuring. That sounds suspicious. Nathan handed her a tablet. Ownership shares were listed across the screen. Nathan retained the largest portion, but 6 other names appeared beneath his, with an open allocation reserved for Mira if she ever chose to return. Kaya stared at the document. You are offering partnership. I am offering paperwork. Partnership happens if everyone signs it. Why? Calder's infrastructure contract is larger than anything I ran alone. You all helped build what this place is now. Kaya looked toward the workshop. What if I say no? Then I save several pages of legal filing. Her markings brightened. And I remain an employee? If you want. And if I leave? Then I complain about staffing again. Kaya read every line. Nathan waited. She signed last. The following morning, a new sign arrived. Calder Independent Repair Cooperative. They mounted it above the entrance together. Kaya stepped back to inspect the alignment. Left side is low. Nathan checked with a level. 1/8 of an inch. I noticed. Show off. She reached into her pocket and removed the old Meridian tag. Defective. No commercial value. Instead of hiding it again, she placed it inside a small transparent case beside the workshop entrance. Nathan looked at her. Still keeping that? Yes. Calibration reference. Yes. A visiting cargo technician stopped nearby and read the tag. What does it calibrate? Kaya looked through the open workshop doors. Modified machines hummed. Sela adjusted a precision assembly rig. Nero worked beside an optical array. Nathan argued quietly with the coffee dispenser. Kaya's temple markings glowed softly. It measures how wrong a system can be. Nathan looked over his shoulder. That is going on the invoice. Kaya laughed. Outside, Calder's freight traffic moved beneath the station lights. Inside, nobody had been repaired. The benches had changed. The contracts had changed. The doors had changed. And eventually, even the name above the workshop had changed. The people never needed to. 1 year after Nathan carried 7 Velari out of Meridian, the old defective tag still hung beside the entrance to Calder Independent Repair Cooperative. Nobody polished it. Kaya insisted on that. The metal had dulled around the edges, and the commercial stamp remained visible beneath years of scratches. Defective. No commercial value. New customers sometimes stopped to read it. Most looked confused. Nathan considered confusion educational. He was beneath a freight hauler replacing a coolant valve when a young station technician called across the workshop. Mr. Walker, there is someone asking about the tag. Nathan slid out. Kaya handles historical artifacts. You mean embarrassing evidence? Kaya called from the diagnostics bench. She crossed the workshop carrying a tablet. Her turquoise blue skin caught the warm work lights, and the luminous markings along her temples pulsed softly as she walked. The visitor beside the display was Velari. Young. Silver-white hair. Amber eyes. One hand rested close to her body, its fingers shaped differently from standardized Velari anatomy. She looked from the tag to Kaya. They gave me one like this yesterday. The workshop became quieter without actually becoming silent. Tools still clicked. Ventilation still hummed. Nathan stopped wiping his hands. Kaya looked at the visitor's hand, then at her face. Who did? An industrial placement office on Kestrel. What did they say? That I could not meet certified tool interface standards. Kaya glanced towards Sela's workstation. Sela was guiding a precision assembly probe through a narrow housing using the same asymmetry Meridian had once called commercially undesirable. Did they test what you can do? Kaya asked. They tested whether I could use their equipment. Kaya nodded slowly. Those are different tests. Nathan heard his own argument from a year earlier and smiled faintly. Kaya noticed. Do not start. I said nothing. Your face did. The visitor looked between them. Can you test me? Kaya pointed toward an empty adjustable workstation. We can test the machine first. Nathan returned to the coolant valve while Kaya changed the bench configuration. 20 minutes later, the visitor was operating a manual precision tool comfortably after Sela repositioned the controls. Nothing miraculous happened. The equipment simply stopped demanding that her hands match its original assumptions. By afternoon, she had completed a basic competency assessment. Nathan added another application to the cooperative's training queue. There were already 12. Word had traveled. Calder's alternative certification program now accepted technicians from 4 species whose bodies or interfaces fell outside older industrial standards. Nathan disliked speeches, so he celebrated by repairing the coffee dispenser again. It failed immediately. Some systems resist progress, Kaya said. This one is committed to tradition. Evenings settled over Calder. Mira returned from the orbital maintenance company for dinner. Tessa arrived late from her environmental systems course. Lyra came directly from structural inspection duty. They no longer lived the same lives. They were not supposed to. Some remained cooperative partners. Some worked elsewhere. Some divided their time. Every door still opened from the inside. After everyone left, Kaya stood beside Nathan beneath the new cooperative sign. Freight lights moved beyond the windows. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The coffee dispenser?" "Constantly." "Meridian." Nathan looked at the old tag. "Financially, Nathan." He smiled. "No." Kaya touched the transparent case around the tag. "They said we had no commercial value." "They were wrong." "You knew that?" Nathan shook his head. "No." Kaya looked surprised. "Then why buy all 7? Nathan considered the question. A year earlier, he had seen 7 women sitting beneath a label that claimed certainty. He had not known whether they could repair machines. He had not known whether they would stay. He had not known whether his money would ever return. "I did not know what you were worth to a repair yard," he said. "I knew it should not decide what you were worth as people." Kaya became still. Nathan picked up his tool case. "Besides, you fixed their control panel before I signed anything. That was suspicious." Her temple markings brightened. "You are impossible. Still uncertified." They switched off the workshop lights together. Only the small lamp beside the entrance remained on, illuminating the old metal tag beneath the cooperative sign. The Galaxy had called 7 women defective because they did not fit its machines. Nathan had never repaired them. He had changed the machines, opened the doors, and let them decide what came next. A year later, the most valuable thing hanging in his workshop was still a worthless tag, because it reminded everyone who entered that sometimes the measurement is what needs fixing.